In 2016, Richard's show appeared on Dr. J's radio show to expose various concealments and manipulations happening in the Middle East. After the broadcast, he received a surprising tip from an anonymous informant who introduced himself as a soldier who had participated in the 2002 Afghanistan war. He revealed that he had actually shot and killed a living soldier in Afghanistan. In the process, his comrades also died, but due to pressure from higher-ups, he had to keep the secret and live with it until now. Upon hearing this, Richard was astonished because it closely resembled the story Stephen had told him in 2008. Stephen, a giant researcher, claimed to have discovered that the US military had actually killed giants in Afghanistan. Feeling uneasy, Stephen tried to investigate the incident in depth but faced threats such as hacking of his website and receiving threatening phone calls. He was unable to proceed with the investigation any further. Suspecting a connection between Stephen's story and the informant's account, Richard decided to meet the informant in person and discuss the matter. The informant referred to himself as Shooter and provided the following description of the events. Shooter's unit was deployed to the treacherous mountainous terrain of Kandahar, Afghanistan, based on intelligence that high-ranking Taliban officials with high bounties were in the area. They established a base camp in the mountains and immediately deployed the first team. However, they had no radio contact for a long time, and when the assembly time arrived, Shooter did not appear at the rendezvous point. Shooter believed that the first team had fallen into an ambush. Shooter was then included in the second team, which conducted extensive searches but found no traces. However, they discovered a narrow cliff path where goats roamed, which they followed. The path gradually widened and led to a large open space connected to a large cave. In front of the cave, there were numerous scattered bone fragments, and they also found the broken radio of the soldier from the first team. The second team concluded that it was an attack by wild animals due to the destroyed equipment and scattered bone fragments. Just as a quiet breeze blew, a person or rather a giant emerged from the cave. Shooter described the giant as being about 15 feet tall, approximately 3 to 4 meters, and carrying a long spear and a shield. The giant wore tattered clothes and had red hair and beard. Its jaw was shattered, perhaps from being hit by a bullet, and it had 6 fingers and toes, with black-colored dirty fingernails. It had the appearance of a Caucasian rather than an Afghan person. Shooter also mentioned a terrible smell emanating from the giant. Shooter and the team opened fire, with all shots targeting the giant's face. The giant soon fell to the ground and was confirmed dead upon careful approach. Afterward, Shooter wanted to publicize the incident, but he had to sign a secrecy agreement and rewrite the report as false due to pressure from higher-ups. After Shooter's disclosure, testimonies from other soldiers who claimed to know about the incident decreased. One significant additional testimony came from a pilot who was involved in outsourcing the giants. The transport team operating CH-47 helicopters consisted of 6 members, including the pilot, and they were responsible for supporting missions to procure supplies in the Afghan airspace. One day, they received an urgent order from higher-ups. They were told to remove all camera memory cards and go to the scene where a body needed to be transported. Despite the strange order, the pilot and his team complied. When they arrived at the scene, they found a dead giant crouching on a large wooden pallet. The pilot provided the following testimony about the appearance of the giant: it was an incredibly massive figure with red hair and a beard. I remember its hands and feet being quite large, and it had an abnormally large number of fingers and toes. The body was covered in a brownish-red liquid, and there was an intense smell that made us feel nauseous. The team loaded the giant's body onto the helicopter and transported it to a military base. The pilot and his team were then ordered to leave the base and never mention the incident again. There are numerous records of giants found in archaeological sites and literature throughout the world. While exploring the indigenous people near the Katamahar Mountains, Marjorie discovers another shocking fact. The Afghan locals were aware of the existence of giants and regarded them as mountain deities. When asked when they first encountered giants, the indigenous people replied, "They have existed for a long time." While tales of giants are often portrayed as legendary and imaginative in many cultures, actual historical records are scarce. Could there be hidden secrets waiting to be uncovered?